I have quite a bizarre, probably, a bit of a heading up there that you find a bit weird, and how is that biblically based? You don't really read of elephants in the Bible outside of Noah's Ark, but buckle up, we're off for a bit of a ride, and fair chance, yes, I will look silly, and you will think I look silly, but I'm going to go with it, because this is something that has been, I guess, on my heart for a couple of weeks at least. And really the main, instigating thing that got me going down this particular path is the dedication of Archer a couple of weeks ago. So bear with me as I tell the story and go through my slides and try to get the message across that I feel I'm meant to be sharing this morning. When we called up Phil and Felicity on that day with Archer, obviously Gary and I came up, but it wasn't long before we had others come up, and one by one others were coming. And as I stood here, those people were sort of coming. It wasn't like they were all sitting on the front row and just one by one coming up. It was they were coming from row 3 and then row 4 and some right up the back and that sort of thing. And I just had this image of this circling of the wagons. And it's a phrase I was trying to look up, and I think all I can do is go back to my childhood watching TV of, cowboys and Indians, and it's American based probably, and they're, for whatever reason, a group of people travelling from A to B, and when they feel that there's trouble or they're setting up camp for the night, they'll put their wagons in a circle and they will camp in the middle and pitch their tents and that sort of thing. So they're providing a sense of protection. And so I was really feeling for Archer and Phil and Felicity, and knowing a bit about their story and how they came about it, of which they shared a bit on the day, was all these people were coming out and we as a church were providing a circle of wagons around them. And I'm not saying at the time that they were in trouble or anything like that, but that sense of protection. I'll talk more about elephants towards the end. I could just find better elephant pictures than wagon pictures, and this picture does actually demonstrate what I'm going to get to about elephants. Sorry, was there? Yep. I've got a variety of scripture, and again, there could be stacks more, but I'm hoping that via these scriptures we can really bring in the motivation and or the reminder as to why there are times when we need to circle the wagons. And I'm talking from the perspective of how we might circle the wagons around others, but there will be times when we are the people in the middle and we need the wagons around us. Micah 6:8, quite a well-known verse, where he has shown you, O mortal, what is good, and what does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. Now, I've highlighted there 3 actions. We need to act, we need to love, and we need to walk. But it's not just acting, loving, and walking. There's actually a description there as to how. We are to act justly. We are to look out for those around us with a heart that wants the best for them. And not just, wow, let me see if I can walk all over you to get to where I'm going. And at no means am I suggesting that this is what we do. But this is what God's calling us and reminding us to do. And at times maybe we need a little bit of a reminder as to why we're doing what we're doing. We need to love mercy. So there's truth and there's love. You can't have one without the other. So it's one thing to love, but we can't just love everything and everyone without that element of truth in there too. I'm going to love you for what, because I love you as a person. I don't necessarily approve or support of your actions, but I'm still going to love on you. But I'm not going to clip you around the ear with the heavy hand and just point my finger and tell you what you should be doing, because no one's going to respond to that. So we've got to love. How do we love? With mercy. We also need to walk humbly. Many times that can be a hard thing to do. We need to remember how or why are we where we are? How or why are we experiencing what we're experiencing? The good things are coming to us. We've got great family or blessings, or we've got the pay rise, or we've got the great job. Is it up to us? Is that because of what I've been doing? And the answer, a big resounding answer, is no. All blessings go to God. So we've got to be walking humbly. And I think Australia especially is a culture where we don't seem to like people who boast and to talk about how good or great or wonderful they are. Tall poppy syndrome, and at times that can be valid. Other times not necessarily so. Maybe we're knocking people down because we're jealous and envious of what they are doing or where they are, as opposed to applauding for where they are because they have been blessed with their skills and their talents and they're using it for good and not for evil, and that's where they're ending up and impacting heaps and heaps of people. So we're called there to do 3 things, but there comes an adjective with each one. Psalm 82, 3-4. Again, give justice to the weak and the fatherless. Maintain the right of the afflicted and the destitute. Rescue the weak and the needy. Deliver them from the hand of the wicked. Again, I've highlighted the action there and then underline some means to describe what we're meant to be doing there. Southland Church, you do a fantastic job with Southland Compassion. The amount of food that is in those cupboards at the minute. And I know a few weeks ago we're actually getting low and we put out a bit of a call. And it seemed like by the following week that cupboard was full. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I had a conversation, I think it was with Nolene recently, where she had a bag and she was putting it away, but it's like, oh my goodness, where do we put it? Because the shelves were full. So thank you so much. You guys do an amazing job at looking out for others. And whether it's putting the food here, whether it's giving to Southland Compassion so we can support some of the missions, both local and external, we support, whether you are involved with Live to Love and Genesis and other organisations or groups or personal passions that God has put on your heart, and you're out there doing that. Again, in Proverbs, rescue those who are being taken away to death. Hold back those who are stumbling to the slaughter. We're being called here to actually be involved in others, community, neighbourhoods, family, in work. We are being called to get involved, to not just come to church, sing our songs, put a bit of money in, have a cup of tea, and then go off and then just close ranks and I'm off to do my own thing now. We are meant to be shining. We're meant to be the hands and feet of Jesus. I think you guys do that really well. So I'm here to encourage you to keep going. James 1:27, religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction and to keep oneself unstained from the world. Keep oneself unstained can be a tricky thing when we get the social media, we see the news, we have people on the other side across, it's always greener on the other side of the fence. They've got the better car, they've got the bigger house, they've got the nicer place. And the number of people, we all probably do it to some extent, some quite a bit, where we're looking at what others are doing and, wow, I wish we had that. I wish we could do this. And I can say with a few years under my belt that over time, it's just interesting how life pans out. I remember when I was younger and first got married, and it seemed everyone was getting married, and we went off and did our own thing. I don't actually recall feeling this at all at the time, because I believe that God was calling me to be single, and I was prepared to just lay it aside and go off and do whatever God called me to do. Coming from a family that were not Christian, that wasn't like they didn't know what my thoughts were along that, but there was no pressure for me to find someone and get married. But that's what I was prepared to do. But I knew that I had friends who were just desperate for finding that partner. Desperate for finding that partner to then marry, to in time to come have had children, have their lovely house with a white picket fence. That was not me. So no one was more surprised than me when I actually ended up finding someone and getting married. And I'm blessed in that. But also I'm just reflecting back on some of those people and the things that they were wanting. They were wanting the marriage, they were wanting the children, they were wanting the house. And seeing where they are now, 30, 40 years later, and they don't have that, and they're actually a bit jaded and or disappointed and or walked away from their faith because life didn't go the way that they were thinking it would. And they thought that, well, I'm a good Christian person, I'm going to find a good Christian person, and we're going to keep going to church on Sundays and we're going to serve God. But it was not serve God wholeheartedly, lay it all down. It was within the boundaries that they put in. And some of those people are not walking with God anymore because life has hit them. They didn't find their partner, their marriage didn't last, they didn't end up with the house that they were wanting, they got sacked from their job, or their partner got ill and therefore they had to forsake their own jobs and or career or earn less or whatever, and they're just not where they thought they would be. Blessings and battles, blessings and battles. That was something that was not really talked about when I was first a Christian. But as it's already been, I think, shared in some of the things that have been said this morning, blessings and battles. Blessings and battles. But we've got to keep ourselves unstained from the world. We've got to just keep our communication with God. God, what do you want me to do? They do look to have a nice house, but God, what do you want me to do? They have a great happy marriage. You know, they seem happier than I am, or their kids look neater and tidier, or they're doing better at the job than I am. I've got to keep myself focused on God and me, and not be looking through social media and thinking, oh wow, they're cooking up perfect meals every day. And my kids are having to eat what I would call bits and bobs, which I actually think means, you know, can be quite yummy. We've got a bit of pasta left, we've got a bit of something else left, and we've got a bit, let's, you know, put it all together and have a bit of everything. Some people turn their nose up at that. I'm not offended and I'm not harping on, but it's fine to do that and to ignore the social media presentations of how they can whip up this 3-course meal every night for their family. Well, it's a load of crock. Keep oneself unstained from the world, because I can vouch that my kids are upright in their breathing and they're well fed and they are actually very self-sufficient. And when push comes to shove, they can actually cook some pretty decent meals. So sometimes it's good to sort of feign uncapableness, I'm not sure if that's the right word, in something, because great things happen from others. It's stepping back and allowing others to flourish, I call it. I only say this because this is the last Bible verse, and then I want to sort of bring it together. And so I'm not meaning I've done my bits and now, you know, I'm ticking boxes, but based on all that, afflicted, looking after the afflicted, the poor, the orphans, the widowed, and we're called to act and walk and love. This is a piece that, I don't know how many of you are on the Instagram thing for Southland, but the last little while we're just putting out a reels. And I won't bother explaining that in great detail, but it's just a little snippet. It goes for up to a couple of minutes, and you can hear supposedly wise words from Gary, from me. I have made up once or twice, and hopefully getting others on too. But Gary shared a piece recently about this, and it does tie with what my theme was for today. It's talking about the time of Joseph, so Moses has died. The people served the Lord throughout the lifetime of Joshua and of the elders who outlived him and who had seen all the great things the Lord had done for Israel. Joshua, son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died at the age of 110, and they buried him in the land of his inheritance at Timnath-Heres in the hill country of Ephraim, north of Mount Gash. After that whole generation had been gathered to their ancestors, another generation grew up who knew neither the Lord or what he had done for Israel. Then the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord and served the Baals. Now Gary's take on this, which I think is a fair take, was that after, you know, all Moses and Joshua and all that they had seen and done, after they all died, the next generation just turned away. So, coming back to my theme of circling the wagons, and I'm going to start to talk about elephants. There are times when we're called to step up, to circle the wagons, and I'll explain the elephants, be elephants, because we need to make sure the next generation is not going to be walking away. And that next generation is I'm not just talking about children, I'm also talking about people who are coming into the faith, who are new in their faith. Heather talked last week about being safe in the arms of Jesus and what she was noticing on cemetery sites for children. It was safe in the arms of Jesus. And she was taking that and implying actually we are all children of God and we can and we should be safe in the arms of Jesus. Let me talk about elephants. This is a picture of a group of elephants. Now, they happen to be all female elephants, and I can leave my sermon on how fantastic women are within the church to another time. This is just the way elephants work. So that was, if you don't agree with it or like it, you go and speak to God. But this is what female elephants do, and blokes, you can do this too. And we need you to. We need men and women there. So I'm talking to us all. But what elephants do, when a female elephant is going to give birth, all the females, apparently the female elephants travelled together anyway, the boy elephants at some point sort of decide to wander off or be by themselves or whatever. But the women actually stick together, and there's generations of family elephants here. But when a female elephant is going to give birth, all the females gather, literally circle the pregnant elephant. And as you can see, most of those elephants that you can see are actually all looking out. So their backs, the back of them are into the circle. But in the middle of that circle is the female elephant who is about to give birth. That female elephant is in an incredibly vulnerable situation and position for giving birth. So these female elephants gather round in the circle, and they're stomping and they're kicking up a lot of dust to mask the scent of the mother elephant's vulnerability and the smell of a newborn coming. So these elephants are kicking up dust and stomping, making lots of noise, and no doubt all those elephants would be rocking the earth quite a bit too, if you're anywhere nearby. But they're also scaring away potential predators, and they're showing solidarity with that mother elephant in the middle, and obviously with the baby that then comes. They are protecting her from all sides, and they close ranks, so you can't even see the mama elephant in the middle. They're also throwing it, by kicking up dirt, they're throwing attackers off the scent. And they're sending a very clear sign to anyone nearby. Don't mess with us. And I have to say, I wouldn't really want to face one cranky elephant, much less a whole gang of them like that. And you can see even the smaller elephants are in there too. At times, I got probably a bit sidetracked with elephants at this time, but it was just interesting at times seeing a herd of elephants walking, and the baby elephants or the younger ones were in the middle, with the matriarch elephant like out the front leading wherever they were going, a few other bigger ones, and then big ones at the back, and the babies were in the middle. Yeah, that was a lovely distraction, but yeah, I wouldn't say it was a time waster. But these elephants are giving the impression, don't mess with us, and we're here to protect this elephant behind us. When the baby elephant is delivered, these elephants continue to kick sand and dirt up, but they actually kick it over the newborn because to protect the skin, their fragile skin, from the sun. So these female elephants have it all worked out. They know how to protect, they know how to scare, and then they know how to protect the baby elephant that has just been born. At this point, then they start trumpeting with excitement of the celebration of the new life and of something beautiful being born. So once this elephant has been born, it seems that the elephants are doing, with their noises, joyful celebration for the birth of this tiny. And they are doing that, possibly staring down other animals around them. In Philippians, where it talks about putting on the armour of God, there's nothing that's talking about protecting your back. They talk about your shield and your chest covering and all that sort of thing. And the Roman army, when they would go out marching, they would be in formation and facing towards their predators. And they were protected from the front. And I think there are also images or pictures you can see where sometimes they, I don't know how they worked it out, a bit like synchronised marching or whatever, some of them would actually have their shields on their heads, so protecting everyone as they're marching forward. But their protection is covering their front because they believe God had their back, which is a fair enough assumption. So these elephants, likewise, are protecting the babies inside and the mama elephants. I have this picture here, which is just a picture I found from this statue is just down the road at the Centennial Park. And I don't put it up to bring in that, sadness of death. I just think it's a beautiful picture, a beautiful image of us reaching. We are either reaching up to seek help or we are reaching down to help others. And as I talk about and we think about the circle of elephants or the circle of wagons, I want us to think about how we can be like the mama elephants to others, but also knowing that if we are like that mama elephant in the middle about to give birth, or in times of trouble, difficulty, we are down, we're depressed, we are suffering, whatever, we are surrounded by other elephants. So if nothing else, going away thinking how you can be like a mama elephant and relate it to what God's calling us to do, as says in Micah about acting and loving and walking, looking out for the afflicted, the sad, the depressed, the widows, the orphans. I'll just finish with Psalm 91, verses 11 to 12, and maybe the music team could come up, please, as we head towards finish. For he will order his angels to protect you wherever you go. They will hold you up with their hands so you won't even hurt your foot on a stone. An image I often think about is, and we actually pray about this on behalf of family members or people we know are struggling, is surround that person, surround these people with your angels. And I believe that that's what God does. And we can be those angel-like people also, surrounding and being there for others. But also knowing that when we are down, we have angels surrounding us. We are all going to be in that position. We're all going to be those outside elephants or the mama elephant in the middle. And there is nothing wrong, nothing shameful, nothing guilt-ridden to be that mama elephant in the middle. We are not called to be alone. And God is there to surround us and protect us.